So the title of my video was a little bit misleading. This is not like titanium white versus mixing white per se. I don't want to suggest that one of these is going to battle it out and then we're going to have a winning paint and a losing paint. That's not what this is about. I am currently working on a project that is using both titanium white and mixing white. And as I was going through my sketchbook practice, preparing my color palette, and I think people would be kind of interested in this. Like, these colors look exactly the same in the tube, white and white. But as you'll notice on its label information, here we have our pigment, PW6 versus PW4. They're both series 1, which means these are inexpensive paints to bring home. But then we get to our opacity rating. Titanium white, very opaque. Transparent mixing white is what the label says. It's going to be transparent. Well, what is that going to mean to the paint colors that we mix it with? I thought you might like to see. I've already started to work on this new project. You see here I've got a thumbnail sketch. It's going to be a landscape of a Texas scene that a friend of mine shared this image with me. She lives in New Berlin, Texas, and I love hay bales, y'all. I'm kind of obsessed with the round kind. And I also love barns. The more falling down, the better. And she sent me this image, and it's currently what I'm working on for my last painting project of the semester. I'm taking painting 2 right now over at Texas Lutheran University. And I was wanting to bring in a muted palette to this landscape that I'm working on. And to do that, I started to explore some colors that I wanted to bring into this scene, but I wanted to tone them down, both with a titanium white and a mixing white. And let me show you why. And then I'm going to walk you through the process itself so you don't just have to look at some colors that aren't moving. Over here, and remember, this is my sketchbook. As I was doing this, I wasn't thinking, ooh, this is going to be a good video. No, I was thinking, I'm studying my paint. So if it doesn't make sense to you right away, there's a reason. This only makes sense to me, so I'm going to walk you through it. So on this side right here, I have Indian yellow, sap green, a mistake where I accidentally made 2 swatches of sap green. So it's going down here, hooker's green, and orange, which is a combination color. I also have over here in a different direction because, like I said, this is my sketchbook. I tend to take my notes in pencil because you never know when I'm going to make a mistake. All of this swatch that I hadn't intended. Over here we have Quin Magenta, Cobalt, Nickel Yellow Azo, then Phthalo Blue, Payne's Gray, Indigo, and green gold. And green gold goes this way. And all these colors go this way. I know, my brain works in mysterious ways. But as you see as I go down, I start off with mixing my original color. This is straight out of the tube. So those colors I just showed you, those are straight out of the tube colors. I mix it first with a swatch that shows it with titanium white, remember, which is an opaque color. And then my next swatch below it is going to be the exact same color in the exact same portions, or more or less. I'm not that rigorous about measurement, with mixing white. And you'll notice, and remember, it's a transparent white. And I hope you can see, like here's sap green, that's titanium, that's mixing white. In hooker's green, that's titanium, mixing white, titanium, mixing white. Notice the difference in those color swatches, and I just think it's super duper cool that there are 2, whoops, I'm trying to get this so you can see the bottom, such different color mixes going on here, and so many, the value, the intensity of the chroma and what goes on based on whether or not you are mixing with one white or the other can be super powerful for your paintings. So what I thought we'd do today is I would take a couple of colors. Let me show you right here. Let me move this out of the way so we're not totally color blasted. I thought I might walk you through mixing both transparent white and titanium white with a couple of new colors that I was hoping to add to my painting. So I stopped mid-process and I was like, wait, this might be kind of a fun video. So we're going to be working with Naphthol Crimson, Primary Yellow, Then these are single pigment paints. Then I wanted to mix it for y'all with Burnt Sienna, which is an opaque paint, and Alizarin Crimson Hue Permanent, which is a semi-transparent paint or semi-opaque paint. These two paints are not single pigment paints. They are a combination. Burnt Sienna is PBK9, so a black pigment, and PR101, a red pigment. And these are two red pigments in this Alizarin Crimson, PR206 and PR202. So I thought it might be kind of fun for us to mix these up together to show what happens when you have titanium versus transparent mixing white to create the next set of colors for my project. So let's see what happens.
Now, before we get started with mixing colors, take a look at my Masters in Stay Wet palette already. I have barely any room, but I'm determined to get all these colors mixed with transparent white and titanium white on this palette. So let's start with Naphthol Crimson, and you'll notice I'm trying my best to be scientific, having the same amount of each of the different whites and the same amount of the original pigment. I'm not super great at that, but I was giving it my best shot. I went with the titanium swatch first, unfortunately, because I wasn't paying attention. But you can see there's a huge difference once you put titanium white in with that naphthol. It becomes this kind of like a strawberry pastel color. But when it's got mixing white with it, it's just this beautiful fuchsia, and it's not nearly as toned down, and I would say it's still just as saturated, just a different value. So I had to have some more white on there because I've just been using a lot of it, and we're going to head over to the yellow comparison, which I was expecting something a little bit more dramatic, but quite frankly, these three yellows, while different in opacity because titanium white is opaque and mixing white is transparent, I didn't find there to be a great deal of difference in their values, except between, of course, the titanium and mix and the original color. Moving on to Burnt Sienna. Burnt Sienna is a real wild card of a color. It says it's a opaque paint, but more often than not, when you paint with with Burnt Sienna, it's fairly transparent in my opinion, as you'll see when I do my swatch. So this is the original color, and it's not nearly as opaque as primary yellow. Moving on, we get it more opaque once we start mixing it with titanium, but again, you can see over there with my paper, when it's with another transparent color like mixing white, it still stays transparent. So go figure. I'm not sure why Burnt Sienna is labeled as opaque, because it most certainly is not. The last color I chose for this painting was Alizarin Crimson, and it is a semi-opaque paint, so I was curious to see what that meant as far as swatching it out. So you can see it's a little more translucent than the Naphthol red was, but that's a gorgeous strawberry pink color going on there, and I just think that's beautiful when it mixes with mixing white. You might have been wondering what I was doing with all the paint that was on my brush and my palette knife as I was swatching these many different colors. So I thought at the end of this video, I might show you what's happening off camera.
So how cool was that to check out what happens when you mix a little white and a little transparent white with some very vibrant colors. I just love what's happening here and just what power I have going into this next painting. Whoops. And I wish I could show this to you from afar, but my arms aren't quite that long to be able to reach the button but on my video camera. But look at all of these gorgeous colors that I have to work with my project, and that's even before I start mixing those intermixing these colors themselves together, which is what I also plan to do. Gosh, I can't get them all in there at once, and that's super duper frustrating. But all of those coming from just having a little bit of curiosity to bring home a different white. I highly encourage this. Oh, I know what I was promising you, that you would see what it is that I do with the paint off the screen, which is a little wacky. So this is what was happening off screen. I just can't waste paint, y'all. I'm always taking my brush and my palette knife and I'm doing something. I have so many pages like this, and I do have a reason for why I do it, a method to my madness. I've started drawing on these, kind of creating these chaotic, basically drawing sheets, and coming to them with pastels and other media that can cover, because this is very textured and obviously very bright. So that's what I'm doing off camera with my paint. It's a little weird, I get it, but at some point I'll have a number of these ready to show you guys to see what it is that happens to these random brush cleaning and palette cleaning pages. So that's what we got today. The power of mixing white and titanium, and how it's kind of interesting to have both of them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, and we'll see what happens for next week. Hopefully I'll have a little bit of this piece to show you, and maybe a little bit more to think about, as every painting that I do brings up new ideas, and I love sharing them with people that are interested in this sort of thing.